Hello, food enthusiasts, and welcome to our channel. Now, since it's still the beginning of the year, food prices is still on everyone's mind. So today I ask you, have you considered the prices outside of Lagos? Is your current location doing you any favors in filling up your belly? Let's compare. Let's start with the basics, such as tomato. It is everybody's kitchen essential here in Nigeria. So grade A tomatoes will be going in Abuja for 418 naira per kilo, and in Kano 400 naira per kilo, Lagos 520 naira per kilo, and in Port Harcourt 652 naira 75 kobo there per kilo. As you can see, Port Harcourt ended up having the highest price. These differences in prices can be attributed to factors such as transportation cost, proximity to farming regions, and demand. For instance, Abuja's location is central, right in the middle of Nigeria. So this makes it a hub for distributing fresh produce and potentially lowering the prices in that state. Now, beyond these individual items, the overall cost of living impacts food prices as well. And according to recent data, the average monthly cost of living is in Lagos approximately $1,133, which is approximately 1.7 million naira. And in Abuja, it is $1,262, approximately 1.9 million naira. And in Port Harcourt, it is $651, approximately 977,000 naira. And in places like Kano, up there in the north, we've got $583, approximately 875,000 naira. Now, this is calculated with the current exchange rate as at this month, February, right? So we find out that Port Harcourt and Kano are actually budget friendly in comparison to Lagos and Abuja. And we also see that turns out Abuja is slightly more expensive to live in than Lagos, but this is cost of living. This is not specifically drawn up for food. Now, these differences arise from various factors, like I said before, and I'm going to detailedly explain these factors. Now, number one, we have transportation costs. Cities that are usually farther from agricultural hubs have higher logistics expenses. So, this is because of the delivery, the cars, and then the cost of fuel is also taken into consideration and the distance. So the fuel is calculated according to the miles and kilometers they have to drive to deliver this food to each state. And that is what ends up affecting the price sometimes when they arrive in the market. Now, our second thing is local production. Areas that are usually abundant with local farming tend to have lower prices. So an example of this would be right here in Lagos. Now, majority of land in Lagos has been built on, there's been so much development. So Lagos actually has few land that is set out for agriculture. And one of the only ones that's still left is Epe. So if you find out when you live in Epe, prices in food is actually cheaper, and the food is actually always fresher as well, because it is still predominantly a farming and agricultural area. Therefore, the food is always going to be cheaper and it's easily available and accessible, right? That brings me to my next point, which is demand and supply. Now, as we know, Lagos is the most highly populated state here in Nigeria. And this high population density can drive up demand, thereby also influencing the prices, because more people equals more mouths consuming the food. And that means we run out of food faster and we need more. And sometimes the sellers or the farmers, they see this and they charge us like we have to now work or double up our production because there's just too many of you, and they charge us for that because that's labor and time spent on their part. So let's not also forget, this is mostly centered around if you are somebody that cooks at home and buys your own produce, as well as, restaurants. This also applies to you buying your produce. So let's move on from the to the perspective of dining out, that is buying your food outside or sometimes ordering it from a food delivery app. Now, dining apps also reflect these disparities in prices. For instance, a combo meal at a fast food restaurant costs around in Lagos 3,706 naira. This is a fast food meal, meaning burger, fries, or maybe jollof rice, and maybe sometimes corn. I've seen some people offer corn, chicken, and things like that. And in Kano, this same fast food is going to give you 4,330 naira. I know, it's surprisingly, right? It is so shocking because Kano ended up being more expensive than Lagos State. So it shows you that Kano actually did this on purpose to encourage people instead over there to cook at home, because their farmers are actually producing and might be overproducing, and they don't want that stock to go to waste. So they make eating out expensive. That way you're forced to actually purchase and support the local market that is there in Kano. Anyways, regardless of where you live, at the end of the day, you still need to navigate food expenses. So here are 4 tips that I have for you. Number one, shop local markets. Like I said, what Kano is trying to do, encourage people to support local farmers. And another thing about shopping local markets is that you are lucky enough to sometimes meet the farmers themselves, and you can even negotiate and come to an agreement. Maybe they'll be supplying you in bulk every month or maybe every quarter of the year, and they'll give you special discounts. So that is something you cannot get from perhaps a supermarket. You can't. Now, number two is to buy in bulk. Now, when buying in bulk is beneficial when it comes to staples like rice, beans, and pasta, and perhaps yam as well, and sweet potato. But I would be cautious about yam and sweet potato. If you've bought these two vegetables, then you've understood one thing about them. Preservation is really difficult, especially in this our lovely dynamic nation we find ourselves. To preserve these two vegetables, you actually do need electricity for your refrigerator, but I leave that to whoever can navigate and sort that out. That's good for you anyway. So, like I said, when you buy these staples, they're cheaper in large quantities and they usually last you a long time. Now, number three is seasonal buying. I personally apply this one to myself. Seasonal buying basically means that certain foods that you know are good for you or you need and can't do without, is best to actually buy them in large amounts, or to actually change your diet and start consuming them when they are in season, because when they're in season, they're usually cheaper. Like I said, when I do this for myself, this usually happens with vegetables and fruits. For instance, in the rainy season around June and July, vegetables and fruits are usually cheaper, and around that time, I change my diet to be more vegetables. That way, I can get my vitamins and so on and so forth. It's just, and besides that, since it's in season, it's usually going to be fresher. I mean, the vegetables are glowing, they are supple, they are succulent. Amazing. That brings me to my last tip for you, which is meal planning. Now, meal planning can reduce the waste. Yes, it can reduce the number of times and the amount of food that you actually waste in your home, and it optimizes your budget. What meal planning basically makes you do is that instead of just consistently all the time going out and buying and buying and buying, meal planning means you actually have to open your fridge every time and your cupboard and look at what is in there, and you plan how to use it till it is finished there. So, in conclusion, while Lagos is often portrayed as the most expensive city to live in, actually, in all actuality, from what we've seen, food prices varies across Nigeria as a whole due to so many multiple factors going on. Being so at the end of the day, being informed and strategic about your shopping can make the most of your budget wherever you are. So thank you for watching. If you found this insightful, don't forget to like and share this with a friend, because information is power. Information will really help you and your friend improve your life. So after you share, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and see you till next time. Happy eating, everyone.